Now, Derek, as I say, you're unbeaten. Unbeaten since you turned professional in 2007, and you had that win against Danny Williams last year at Upton Park on the undercard of Kevin
Give a shout
Mitchell,
out to Danny, yeah.
which was a strange old night because it was still light, wasn't it, when you got in there? It was like a half, like a light.
I tell you what, man, you know, that was the best show Frank Warren's ever put out, man.
Yeah,
like,
I told him the same thing.
You know, it was the best show he has ever put out. I think that was the best show in Great Britain, you know, and the whole vibe of the stadium, the outside, the wind was, you know, it was just amazing. It was great.
It was gorgeous. Yeah.
You know, it was the best show ever, and I hope he can do it again. You know, if West Ham don't go down.
Yeah, listen, don't go down. Well, maybe we'll do it in another stadium. Now, Danny, that night, I mean, you walked through him in 2 rounds, and okay, you know, it's easy to say. To say now that Danny's finished, but no one was saying before the fight Danny's finished. Derek's going to walk through him in 2 rounds.
You know what? I think not slagging off Danny. You know, I just think I think I was hand over the British title. You know, I didn't really fight for it. You know, I would have liked to work hard for the British title and win it. You know, like the rest of the other fighters. You know, I got given it over the plate. You know, saying, you know what, you can have the belt. You know, and you know, I give a shout out to Danny. You know, he knew his time was done, and he gave the British title to the right person. Yeah.
Although I'm hearing he might be coming back soon. Might be fighting again in Germany.
Yeah,
that's what I'm hearing.
You know, there's a problem. You know, when you say you retire from boxing, you know,
it's hard.
It's very hard. It's addictive. You know, so it's quite hard for most fighters to just go away.
What would be your plan? I mean, I'm going to ask you. Cast your head forward here, 2 or 3 or 4 years. Have you put a deadline on your retirement? Have you done like David Hayes done? Said I'm going to go at 30 or 31 or 35? Or...
No, I haven't. I
don't see how that works, because if you only fight twice a year for the next 3 or 4 years, I don't see how you can do that really.
Hey, are we talking about me retiring, or are we talking about David?
No, forget David. We'll talk about him in a minute. I'm talking about you. I mean, let's say you beat Klitschko on the 30th of April. You've got to have you got to have a rematch, or I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, if I beat him, I have a rematch with his brother, and I'll try and get 1 billion viewers. That's my next target.
And I'll tell you what, that's the sort of fight that was getting up towards that. But what I'm saying is, then you'd be casting your eyes forward. Would you say, you know what, I'll have 3 more fights, 2 more years? Or are you thinking, I'm just going to see how my body goes, fight by fight?
To be honest with you, all the greats have said they retired and they have came back.
Yeah,
you know?
that's what I'm trying to... That's what I'm
Mayweather's retired and he's made so much money, and he's come back because he loves the sport, you know. If you don't love the sport, you won't come back. Yeah. You know, for me right now, I don't know. Right now, my deadline, I'll retire when I'm 35. Yeah,
but you're 27, and in all fairness, you're a young 27 as well. I
mean, when I don't enjoy boxing, that's when I retire, actually.
Yeah, that was, I think, what Bernard Hopkins did in the end. You know, I know he told his mother he'd retire at 40, and he's still going now, whatever he is, 45.
Yeah, because you know why? Because he enjoys it, you know.
He's loving it.
You know, it's like Alex Ferguson. If he stops coaching, you know, he's going to get old.
He's going to get old quickly.
Exactly. So, you know, Bernard Hopkins, you know, he loves it. You know, he enjoys the pain when he's sparring, moving around, running and stuff. Like, he enjoys it, so why not?
He enjoys that, living on his own for 2 months, because he lives on his own, doesn't go to camp, lives on his own.
Exactly.
Family stays in the family house. He lives on his own, cooks on his own. It's just...
Exactly.
Like a monk, man. That's what he likes.
Exactly.
When did you first walk into the gym, Derek? And then was it Finchley you first walked into when you boxed as an amateur?
Yeah, I first walked in the gym when I was about 16, and I had my first fight when I was about 18, I think. Because I walked in there when I was a fat kid. Yeah,
you were carrying a bit of weight then, weren't you?
Yeah, I was carrying some massive weight.
Were you being a bit of a pain then? Were you a bit of a pain around the streets, or were you...
Yeah.
You're a bit of a pain, weren't you?
Everybody was. I was, you know. Every great athlete was a pain on the streets, basically.
Because you needed something, like you needed the football or the running or the boxing.
Yeah. You know, I walked in the gym, you know, and I'll tell you a story. I sparred this Irish guy called Pat, and the first time he hit me with a jab, and tears came in my eyes. I bled, and I walked out of the ring. I went to the change room.
That's enough for me.
And then one of my trainers came. He goes, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I can't do this. I'm leaving." He goes, "No, you can't leave. You can't leave. You have to stick to this." I was like, "You know, I'll give you a go again." And then I just enjoyed it.
Enjoyed it from there. Yeah. How many bouts did you have as an amateur? I know you won.
I had 20. I had 25.
And did you lose? How many did you lose?
Yeah, I lost 2. I got knocked out by a guy from. What's that gym called? Repton.
Repton?
Yeah.
Oh, was it Damien Campbell, someone like that?
Nah, Damien. It was not Damien Campbell. No, not Repton. What's it called? Haringey.
Haringey,
yeah,
Police.
Yeah. And then I got robbed when I got into the Four Nations.
That's right. I was up in Liverpool or somewhere. I was there. I was there.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Not wherever it was. Yeah.
And then after that, I just turned pro.
That makes sense. You know, I think at that point you were at a stage where you had to turn pro.
Yeah.
Because you needed, because when you won the ABAs, you won it at a canter, didn't you?
Yeah.
You sort of didn't break sweat, so.
I didn't break. But I did. I fought all my fighting ABAs. I didn't get a walkover. I fought all of them.
Really, about 6 or 7. That's a picture of you watching Sky now. That's you up in Scotland. Is that Fort William?
Yeah, Fort William's amazing place.
Yeah, it
that
looked
place,
fantastic.
man. It's amazing.
It did. It looked brilliant. Let's talk a little bit about David Haye, because he's. You know, he thinks you stole his opponent for, you know, the fight. He thought he was going to be fighting Vladimir on the date that you're fighting Vladimir. He's now not chosen. He may not fight in May. He might wait for July. Cheekily suggesting he might fight Vladimir, and then he's talking about retiring in October. I mean, I've got to be honest with you, and I've been a massive staunch defender of David on this show, but I think he might be losing some friends very soon, unless he comes up with something.
Nah, you know what? Yeah, if David wants a good fight, you know, Adamic is there. You know, he can fight Adamic. You know,
of course,
very good fighter. You know, and he'll make David work. You know, and he can prove to the British public that he is the real deal.
Yep.
You know, and he's, you know, fair enough. He won the world title. You know, and he unified the cruiserweight. You know, he beat Enzo and stuff like that. You know, very good. And I think, for him to get respect from me alone, Derek Chisora, yeah, I think he should fight Adamic. Or else, you know what?
Yeah,
he can wait on the line. You know, if this fight, because this fight he's dreaming of is not going to happen if I walk in that ring.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, he's talking about, you know, maybe fighting Klitschko in early July. And Klitschko's talking about saying I'll fight David in early July, which is, you know, it's disrespectful towards you, but I just don't think it's realistic. I don't think it's realistic anyway.
I'm fine with that, you know. I'm not really bothered, you know.
It's their shout. It's their choice.
It's their choice, you know. But if I was a real try-hard boxing fan, I wouldn't buy that ticket yet.
No, okay, that's the truth. Don't make plans for that fight just yet.
Exactly.
Looking back through history, heavyweight champions in time. If you could travel back, Derek, who would you like? You know, who would you like to pit yourself against? Who would you like to go head to head with? In the last, say, 30 or 40 years.
I would like to fight Riddick Bowe.
Yeah.
Riddick Bowe. He had a good jab.
Yeah, you know what? I think he's the great wasted talent in heavyweight boxing.
Yeah. He had a massive, beautiful jab.
And he was a big man as well.
Yeah, you know. I would like to fight Riddick Bowe.
That's a strange one, because I think he's a big unsung hero, Riddick Bowe.
Yeah, you know, because I watched some of his fight with Goliath, is it?
Yeah, Golotta,
yeah, you know, great fight, man.
Wins them hands down and then fouls out in both fights.
Exactly, you know, I would like to fight him because, you know what, because his jab was just amazing.
It really was. It was relentless.
Yeah, relentless, you know, and another fight I would like to fight would be me and Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Everyone
fancies a bit of Tyson. I think it's just in heavyweights that they'd like.
I would like
Tyson, a good Tyson.
I would like to fight Tyson in his prime. You know, you know.
I think that was a great fight. The prime Tyson, the 20-odd-year-old Tyson.
Oh yeah, man, that was amazing. That guy was the man.
So what's in store then for Vladimir Klitschko? We're out in Germany. It's the week before the fight. You're obviously going to be in his face a little bit. We're all going to be there with you. Hopefully Sky will be screening it. Hopefully 5 Live will be broadcasting it. The British press will be camped there. How relaxed would you be in that run in those 4 or 5 days leading up to that fight, Derek?
I only get nervous when the fight is announced. Because, you know, because when the fight's announced...
Oh, well, like 3 weeks ago, that kind of thing?
Like,
4 weeks.
Yeah, 6 weeks, you know, because I'm more nervous because I'm not ready, I'm not fit, I'm not sharp. And I go in the gym and I'm like, oh, you know, I got loads of work I have to put in. And then when I know the work I've put in, then I start getting all mouthy, you know, I start getting all brave. So, you know what, I've trained hard, I'm ready to fight. Now. You know, but before that, I'm more nervous, I'm more shaking, like, oh, Jesus Christ, how am I going to get fit? I just want to get out of my house and run maybe to Manchester and I'll be fit, but it don't work like that.
Doesn't work like that.
No. You know, but I get nervous the first 2 weeks.
Then after that, you're in the groove.
And after that, I'm in my own zone.
Right. So if I asked you to tell me how it's going to end, can you do that, or you?
Yeah, I would say people, man, put your money on the 7th round from the 8th round, man, because this guy's getting knocked out.
All right. Well, I tell you what, Derek, it's been a pleasure having you in, and you are good for your word. You say you're going to be here. And you've been listening